You can forget the oil, forget to change the filter, even forget about your wife, and this engine will still run. Today, I'll show you 5 American monsters that refuse to die. One of them works even without oil. Don't believe it? Watch for yourself. I know, just like me. You've got an engine under the hood, not TikTok music. You want something you can fix with a sledgehammer and start with a prayer. So today, only Steel Legends. We're not talking about motors under warranty. We're talking about ones that go a million miles, survive the army, work on a farm, and then haul a boat in retirement. These are engines that don't break because they simply don't have time for that. 1. Detroit Diesel. DD15, 14.8L, 6-cylinder diesel. This engine is like a grandpa who went through Korea, changed 4 gearboxes, and still changes the filter himself. It's installed on Freightliner Cascadia and other heavy trucks. It delivers 505 horsepower, 1,850 lb-ft of torque, and its lifespan is like a Soviet refrigerator, eternal and loud. Pros, chain-driven camshafts, almost nothing to break. 2. Cummins N14. Just say N14 and the old trucker sheds a tear. This engine has legendary reliability, produced from 1987 to 2001. They really lasted 1.5 million miles. Cast iron block, minimal electronics, they survived even after overheating. They say one guy drove off with an N14 in the 90s and he's still going, just can't stop. 3. Mack E6. The diesel that built America. This engine is like a concrete block with a turbo. The Mack E6 is a 6-cylinder diesel that didn't work because it wanted to, but because it had no choice. They put it on cement mixers, dump trucks, logging trucks, and seemingly everything that weighed over 10 tons and could move. It had a legendary reputation. To break a Mack, you really have to try. It could run on bad diesel, work in plus 40 degrees C and minus 30 degrees Celsius, could stall in the rain but still started with a kick or a screwdriver in the starter, who knows. Mechanics loved it for its simplicity. There was metal, bolts, and 0 surprises. It wasn't economical, it wasn't light, but it was honest. You gave it oil, it gave you work. You gave it a sledgehammer, it gave you 10 years of service. One classic story. One trucker told how he got stuck in a swampy pit with an old Mack E6. No signal, no help. After a day, he started the engine and used the torque to pull himself out. No winch, no nothing. Just pulling power and diesel will to live. 4. International DT 466. School bus, tractor, and just a beast. If you've ever ridden on an American yellow school bus, chances are, under the hood, there was a DT 466 roaring. But this is not just a bus engine. This is a real workhorse, put into everything from fire trucks to agricultural machinery. And it's also one of the few engines you can disassemble right on the frame. Seriously. The block is made so you can replace pistons, bearings, and even liners without removing the engine. For mechanics, that's like getting a bonus level in a game. Cast iron block, fuel system without excess electronics, legendary simplicity. It didn't push 500 horsepower, but it always worked, even when it wasn't supposed to. There are plenty of stories of DT 466, starting after 3 years of downtime, in the cold, with one dead battery and a jumper cable from a vacuum cleaner. And it went. Loud, smoking like a train, but it went. And also, it's impossible to kill. One bus owner told how his DT 466 ran for 1.2 million miles. Then the engine was sold to a generator, and it still runs. If this engine were a person, it would live in a trailer, eat bacon, and never take sick days. 5. Ford 300 Inline 6, a gasoline legend for all time. The Ford 300. If engines could smoke cigars and tell stories, this one would start with, "I remember hauling cement in 1974. It's one of the most reliable inline 6-cylinder gasoline engines in USA history. It was installed in Ford F100, F150 pickups, buses, tractors, generators, and even industrial equipment. Why? Because it always worked. The engine had an enormous reserve of strength, low torque, and an insanely simple design. It didn't have a turbo, EGR, or complex electronics, just a starter, a spark, and character. One owner said how he drove the 300 for 2 years, without oil, just checked to see when it would give up. It didn't. The engine started making noise but didn't die. Another case. The engine worked with a blown gasket and a crack in the block, and still hauled boards from the farm to the market. Every day. This engine is like a grandpa who doesn't complain, doesn't break, and can still unscrew a bolt without a wrench. If the apocalypse hit tomorrow, and you had to choose one engine to survive, you'd take the Ford 300. Nothing else matters. Right now, there are plenty of engines packed with sensors, locks, and smart systems. But smart doesn't always mean durable. These 5 old engines are like old friends. You trust them. Yes, they're heavy. Yes, they're not always eco-friendly. But they don't let you down when everything else breaks. So if you want an engine, pick the one that's proven itself in the dirt, the heat, and without oil. These engines are not just machines, they're character. They're raw power, tested by time. If you want us to make an episode about the 5 most unreliable engines, leave a comment. Or tell us which one of these you've personally tortured, and it still ran. Subscribe if you love engines that go boom, not error code 34B.